And welcome to our March edition of Sports Highlights right here on the Newport News School System channel. My name is Greg Picaveras. Our program airs on Mondays at 7 a.m., 2 p.m., 7 p.m., weekends at 9 a.m. This is our March edition, and so glad you're with us. Our guests for our March show are Bobby Woolham, the manager of athletic administration at CNU, and Willie Goss, the head boys basketball coach at Kecoughtan High School. Bobby, good to see you.
Good to see you.
You've got a vast background. Of course, your uncle was the head coach at Christopher Newport. Your dad was the head coach at William Mary and Bucknell over the years. And
Yep, sort of grew up in the industry. My dad started at Newport News High School. He went to William and Mary, followed Lefty Driesell at Newport News, and went to Old Dominion, won a national championship with Sonny Allen, and then went to Bucknell for 19 years. My uncle CJ was at Marshall, and he came here under Bev Vaughn back in the day, and ended his career here at Christopher Newport.
Well, there haven't really been that many coaches at Christopher Newport. Bev Vaughn, you talk about in the 70s and the
Right.
early 80s, and then CJ pretty much, and then your current coach.
I think they're on 5, maybe. They had a couple guys do short stints, but John Kokorian's been there since my uncle, and he's doing an unbelievable job.
What did you learn the most about basketball? Because like you said, your dad was involved in the high school and the college level.
It's a family game. I think, growing up in it, everyone says holiday this, holiday that. Basketball was our life, so, most of our friends and family revolved around it. It's just a family type thing. It's still that way. When I go into CNU, the kids it's about the kids, it's about the family, it's about the game, about knowing people and watching it and enjoying it.
Well, let's talk about Pennsylvania basketball for a second. How was it there? Your dad had a recruit in Philly and other places like Jersey, and it was not always easy going against Villanova and LaSalle and those type of schools.
No, it's tough going against the Philly schools. He did a lot of recruiting in Virginia, to be honest with you, when he went to Bucknell. Baltimore, Maryland area, Virginia. He had a couple kids from Pennsylvania, but a lot of kids from Virginia and Baltimore area where he was familiar. And as a result, it was good for the team because they did exceptionally well.
Right.
His whole career there, getting kids from the South. Philly kids are tough. We had a few here and there, but a lot of them stay home.
I thought it was great when your dad did come to Wayne Mary. Of course, Mr. Bolanos was the coach in the late 70s, and of course the Parkhill brothers. But I really thought your dad brought credibility back to Wayne Mary basketball. I mean, there were great games, and his games against Lefty were events there. I mean, you were part of that as well.
It was fun. I think my favorite Lefty story is when he left the court, got so mad he went downstairs and never came back up. We never saw him after the game.
Yeah.
But we had some battles. I think we renewed the excitement in basketball there. And then Tony came in after, one in between, but I think Tony did an unbelievable job there too, getting everything to where it should be, and then circumstances sort of stopped that. But yeah, we had fun. It was fun because a lot of his old teammates and everybody got back involved in the program.
Now yourself, you've been coaching high school. You've also been an assistant coach at my alma mater, George Mason. So I got to ask you, how was your experience at George Mason?
It was my first job in coaching college, and I always tell people we went in knowing we weren't going to be there the next year. So I worked for a guy named Ernie Nestor, who basically, when he hired me, said, "Bobby, unless we do something special, this is it." So it was sort of a weird situation. But I learned right away what it's like to be on that level, for the fact that they packed my boxes. I came back from the CAA tournament, my boxes were packed. It was done. So you learn how to fight back and get back in the game, which is the way it is in college. And then took half a year off, and then I came to William and Mary with my dad.
I remember Coach Nestor. He was there my senior year, and of course he was Carl Tacey's top assistant at Wake Forest.
Right.
And he had a lot of roots in the ACC as well.
He spent a lot of time in the ACC. I think he ended his career at Wake, actually. So he went back. I can't even imagine how many years he spent at Wake. He was an unbelievable basketball guy. You talk about a basketball guy. That was all. I mean, he was the man. He knew everybody. I mean, I bet you he coached till he was in his 70s, I would say.
Yeah, quite a legacy. We're talking to Bobby Woolham, the manager of athletic administration at CNU. Of course, his dad was Charlie Woolham, who coached Wayne Mary, and C.J. Woolham, his late uncle, coached Christopher Newport. Talk about CNU day to day now.
Well, it's a busy place. We have an unbelievable athletic program. Every single one of our fall sports made the NCAA tournament except football, who lost in the late stages of the championship game at Salisbury. The They did a great job turning that program around. Our winter sports are doing exceptionally well. Women's basketball is undefeated. They're number 1. Men's basketball is number 3 in the country. Track and field's doing, indoor track's doing well. And then we go into the spring, which we're just starting now. And our teams are either, majority of them are ranked in the country, if not in the top 5. So it's I always say it's a Division III school with Division I expectations and Division I athletes. I just think they do an unbelievable job there. Great leadership and great people in the school.
And a good tennis program.
Great tennis program. It's getting better and better. We have the number 1 ranked golfer in the United States too, in Division III, and he's up for the Ben Hogan Award, which I think only 2 other previous Division III golfers has ever been up for the Ben Hogan Award, which is for the nation's top golfer, Division I, II, and III.
And CNU, of course, for a long time had one president, Paul Tribble. They got a new one. Talk about what you've heard so far.
Great guy. Met him, I think last week. Super nice guy, military background, came from the Coast Guard Academy. From what I understand, he was a baseball and football athlete there, very into athletics. Super nice guy. It's all I can say at this point is he's a great person.
Mm-hmm. Now, CNU, of course, going back to basketball, since we're in basketball season, March Madness, you got to love it, has made the NCAA tournament several times for decades, when your uncle was there and presently as well. What will it take for a school like William & Mary to eventually crack that code? Because the CAA was a lot tougher when your dad was coaching.
Sure.
There was no VCU now, there's no George Mason now, so there's no James Madison for that matter.
Yeah.
Can they finally do it?
I think they could. I mean, to be completely 100% honest with you, they were going to win when Tony was there. If he wouldn't have lost his job and the number of kids that transferred out that year, they had 1 starting at Minnesota. All D's is at Northwestern, who just beat Purdue. He was sort of the guy that got it done for Northwestern. They had a kid at UMBC. They had a kid start at Carolina. I mean, he had it right, and they had a kid go to the NBA. So he had it right, and when he lost his job, those kids left, and it just put him back behind the 8 ball. So the new coach coming in he had to fight his way back. And the other problem is that William & Mary's in a situation in which academics are very important. You can't just take any transfer you want at this point. So with the transfer portal being the way it is, some of the other teams in the league can get good really fast. I think College of Charleston has 2 Division II transfers and a NAIA All-American, and both the Division II guys are All-Americans, and look what they've done. They've had a great year, and those guys have carried them. So it's tough. You got to build from within there and get better and better over time.
You're talking about a culture change. When we were growing up, it was just you were lucky to get a scholarship. I remember I worked in the athletic department as a student. I got to register for my classes early. That was my only perk. Now they get paid, benefits. I mean, how is it different from the NFL or professional sports?
I don't know. I mean, scholarship kids get free education, which is a good thing. But I have buddies that are all still in the game now, and they just say it's a different world. They aren't supposed to be involved with what goes on in the NIL, but you look at the kid, the quarterback from Florida who left because his NIL deal fell apart. That was basically a Gator group, they called themselves, that fronted the NIL deals. So, I mean, they're professional athletes now in a roundabout way. And the teams that can pay best and the areas that can pay best, I always tell people, look at the Southeastern Conference compared to the Big East and the ACC. The ACC is sort of dropping off because the schools aren't in areas where the college is king. Alabama, that's it. That's all they got. So those NIL dollars are going to go to the college kids. They aren't dealing with professional athletes like they are in the Northeast.
What's a breath of fresh air, though, is the Baycott kid from North Carolina staying his entire time. That's rare, Bobby.
Very rare. But I think he needed to stay.
Yeah.
I think kids aren't going to stay if they know they're going to get paid. And I wouldn't make my kids stay if he knew he was going to get paid. But I think the kids that are staying know it's better for them to stay. Mm-hmm. And I think he's going to get paid more money now that he did stay.
I'm sure you still watch a lot of college basketball. I'm sure you've seen what's gone on at Georgetown the last couple of years. Who would have thought Ewing would struggle so much? As the time we're taping right now, he's won 1 conference game the last couple of years. And he did win the tournament in 21, so you can always strike lightning and make it a good move by winning the tournament. But winning the tournament's difficult when you got to win several games.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think the city schools have struggled. I don't know if it's an NIL thing or not, but Jay Wright played for my dad at Bucknell. And he left Villanova this year, and he basically said, you have no idea what it's like out there. And just look who's number one in the country right now, Alabama. So think about NIL dollars. They're the big show in Alabama. I'm a good friend with Nate Oates. I sort of grew up in the business with him. I think he's doing a great job, but it's changed so much. It's not, the traditional schools aren't the traditional powers. I mean, Alabama's number one. When's that happened?
They're a football school.
Yeah. And you look at the conferences that are supposedly getting teams in the dance right now. I mean, Kansas's league has 9 teams. Southeastern Conference has 8 teams. The Big East has 2. Pac-10 has 2 teams that they're in so far. I think the Big East has 4 maybe. But I mean, the pendulum is swinging.
Right. And I think the reason they're keeping it right now at 68 because you can only do it but so many weekends.
Right.
I mean, you can expand and expand and expand, but you're not trying to make it a 2-month tournament.
Yeah. And it's not, back in the day, you knew who was going to be good because the coaches went out and got players and they developed the program and they got better and better and better. Now someone can get good really fast. Mm-hmm. I mean, you get the right guys in the portal. There's so many people. I deal with the portal at CNU. You'd be amazed how many Division III kids go in the portal. Mm-hmm. And it's just that I think kids believe if it's not going well right away, why stay?
Yeah, and it just shows you. I mean, we just talked about, before we got on the air, about Lamont Struthers played for your uncle. That was rare that a player back then, would go to the NBA from a small school.
Sure. Today, Lamont would not have finished at CNU. Mm-hmm. He would have gotten in the portal and been gone right away because people, and there's no way that people don't communicate with these guys. Mm-hmm. No way.
Yeah. If they can see you, they will find you. There's so many different ways now to promote yourself. What are the biggest challenges for a Division III school to get talent?
Well, you have to wait till the kids get the scholarship offers first, which happens quickly. And, with our situation, we're a state university, so we don't give grant and aid. We don't help out that way. We just have really good coaches that work really hard, and we have a great reputation of being winners. Kids like to play for winners, so they're going to come to Christopher Newport.
Yeah, but y'all got a great facility there. It's not that old. No. You got so much to offer, and the kids are looking for amenities. And, there's so many more distractions now for kids, too.
It's like going to a country club, going to Christopher Newport. It truly is. I mean, the dorms are ridiculous. Both of my sons played sports there. And you go there, and it's just, you're amazed that they're in suites as freshmen. I mean, when I was in college, you had 2 beds thrown in a cement box, and that was about it.
Yeah.
Now that, they're living the life, it's almost better than the real world.
Yeah, and everything is measured, nutrition, your time, your talent, your treasure, everything. And Bobby, all the best at CNU. You've had a very nice basketball career, on and off the court, and best of luck to you and your family.
Thanks so much. Nice to see you.
My pleasure. Bobby Woolham right there. Thank you. Manager of Athletic Administration at CNU, and comes from a family legacy of high school and college basketball. Stay tuned as our March show rolls on.
You're watching NNPS TV. Catch sports highlights on Mondays at 7, 2, and 7, and on Saturdays and Sundays at 9 a.m. Visit us online at nnpstv.com to view all your favorite episodes. NNPS TV, watching education happen.
Part 2 of our March edition of Sports Highlights. Greg Bickaveris, glad you're with us. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel at NNPS Telecom as well. Connect with me at Greg Bick. Our second guest today for our March show is Willie Goss. He's the head boys basketball coach at Kecoughtan High School, and I hope you enjoyed our first guest, Bobby Willem from Christopher Newport. Willie, good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. Good to see you.
My
brother.
pleasure, my pleasure. You've talked basketball. You've been part of basketball your entire life. You went to school in North Carolina. Talk about how basketball and you got started.
Oh man, for being from Durham, North Carolina, I was. It's kind of parallels to 757, if you will call it. But we have the RTP, which is the Raleigh Durham Chapel Hill. It's the 8-mile stretch of college athletic greatness, which you have North Carolina State, Duke, and Carolina all on one road, 8 miles to each other. So basketball was part of my life. It was nothing when I grew up to go to the supermarket and see Rasheed Wallace or George Lynch or King Rice. I'm dating myself now because I know none of the viewers know any of those guys. So basketball was around, and so in high school I was a two sports star. Tried baseball. I was pretty good in elementary school, middle school, but then I got to high school, I couldn't see the ball no more. It was just too fast. So I stayed with basketball and football, and then ended up making basketball a part of my life, and it's been good to me.
Well, you said it's like the 757. Well, the 757 is good for high school. Nothing compares to the triangle in the country. I mean, when Dean Smith would go against Bill Foster or Coach K or Norm Sloan and Jim Valvano, there was nothing like that. I mean, you can still see a lot of those games on YouTube.
Right.
Being at North Carolina, being at Duke, being at NC State, and Wake Forest, I've been to all four places. There's nothing like that. It's like heaven on earth.
I'm telling you, it's amazing, and I'm just fortunate enough to, blessed enough to have been, grew up in that area at the time, and it was just always something, about it. Everybody, you have your favorites, and they talk about rivalries, but there's nothing like a Duke Carolina rivalry. It's nothing like a Duke NC State. It's just amazing.
Because Duke's gym is not that big.
Not at all.
It's old.
It's almost like the cave. It's almost like my gym at Kecoughtan.
Yeah, so you got to feel at home there. But it's always an event too. But in Greensboro, I've hosted so many ACC tournaments and NCAA tournaments.
Yes. And it was used to be fun because you used to have the CIAA tournament, which was in Charlotte, and then the next weekend you would go to the ACC tournament right there in Greensboro, and so it's just rich history that still continues to this day, and just honored to be a part of.
And I think that affects both Hampton and Norfolk State because they are so joined together at the hip in the MEAC and the CIAA. You got Hampton now in the CAA, and Norfolk State's been in the MEAC, but you like to see those teams play, and they do still play.
Yeah, right. And I think it's hurt them to a sense. If you go to Norfolk State games now, they still have great turnouts, but HU right now is suffering. Unless there's a team that maybe can showcase a kid from this area, but otherwise, it's seats watching these young men and young women compete. So I understand the money aspect about it. I understand the bigger picture, but with the hard work and the dedication, I think sometimes it might be better to go back to the old formula and maybe switch up a couple of things just to get it back. 'Cause those coaches, those kids, they deserve to be able to have the chance to play in front of people. Get those TV contracts and things of that nature. And at the end of the day, the big money, the TV deals are not going to come if they're looking at seats and not people. So
Yeah, you don't want crickets, that's for sure. No, but let's talk about, before we talk about your team, let's talk about your day-to-day job.
Oh yeah, I'm the lead security officer at the best school in Newport News Public Schools, Mitchell High School, and so I had the opportunity to work with some great, amazing security officers, a great administrative staff, great teachers, and so I enjoy it. It is definitely, it's not a job, it's a ministry, and I've never felt like I've been to work a day in my life. I've been doing it 18 years now, and I love every day of it. I love being able to come, to work and interact. Something that we say in security, we do everybody else's job because everybody can't do ours. And so, I have a chance in one day to be an administrator, to be a counselor, to be a custodian, to be a bus driver, to be a counselor, because we're security, we're the concrete that holds the building together because we have to do so many different things. And so, we're just proud to be a part of the Newport News Public School family.
Right, you got to be ready from the jump in the morning.
Oh man, I tell people all the time, people ask how, hey, how was your day? I said, you got to understand, my day doesn't start until, something bad happens. And so all day long, they're not going to call me to tell me something good is happening. They're calling me because they need me to fix a problem. And so I feel like I'm the fixer all day. So, I like being in the middle of stuff. So it keeps the day going, never a dull moment.
Well, you're at Menchfield. Do you get any nudges like, hey, Coach, I need some basketball advice from any of the players?
Oh, man, listen, it is a great atmosphere. On a Kickinton Mitchellville night, it is just wonderful. Being able to talk, basketball with, the boys and the girls, I respect them, they respect me. I cheer for them just as much as they cheer for me. We don't like each other for 40 minutes twice a year. And other than that, we're pushing and supporting each other. And I want those guys and girls to be just as successful in coaches as well as, they want me to do the same. So I'm a monarch by day, but I'm a warrior, by night.
Do you still travel with the team on the bus?
Oh, yes.
How important is that?
Oh, it's very important. It's very important. Just from the aspect of it gives you that, what I call that behind the scenes time. We're on the bus and we're able to, enjoy wins and celebrate. It takes me time where I can, have them come into what I call come in my office, the coach's seat, and be able to talk about, things we need to talk about. We've planned futures. We've planned career paths right there on the seat. And a lot of times, there was a saying that was birthed out of the untimely passing of Coach Moore, that it was more than a game. And so those times on the bus really help you know that it's more than a game, because it's not about basketball. Most of the time it's about, the girlfriend problems or at-home problems or just problems that they're having personally that we get to talk about on the way to the game. And that's why I love riding the bus.
Yeah, the before and after. Now, basketball is played during the dinner hour. And let me ask you that. The kids, as you know, start early. It's still important to get 3 meals a day, but I'm sure you've seen it over the years at work and Kickinton both, where the coach and the players talk, and the player might say to you, Coach, I've only had a candy bar the last few hours. You need energy to get to a game. What happens during that case?
Well, what we do in both places that I've been able to coach at, Warwick and Kickinton, we had a great, first thing I did was I went in and I formed a relationship with our cafeteria manager. And so they made it to where it was, we ran Warwick and Kickinton like it was a college style program. And so if they needed nutrition, if they needed something, all you had to do was, go in and talk to the cafeteria manager, and they would give you what you need. And then also for coaches, it may not be Philly cheesesteak, but I got some ham for you, so ham apple slices, something.
But you think about it too, Willie. I mean, you're there several hours during the day. It's like working a double shift for these basketball players. They're not home to what, 10 o'clock on game nights sometimes?
Right. We got back, most games we're getting back 9:30, 10 o'clock, by the time you leave. And then for coaches, if we decide to talk about the game or if we got a back-to-back game now, fortunate enough, we've been blessed to Kickinton to be Jordan sponsor, so we have dual uniforms to wear. But if you got, 2 back-to-back road games, now somebody got to wash the uniforms and, get them ready. So, it's a lot that goes into it. And I think that's why the only thing that I would say, I think parents need to understand the effort and the time that goes into what these coaches and players put into it. And so just over the years, just the level of respect for the coaches has went down, and I believe parents' expectations has went up, and the respect for the level of coaching has went down. But I applaud all the coaches that do it, because we definitely don't do it for money. I actually did the formula the other day, and it's like we literally are making 13 cents an hour to coach.
Yeah, I'm going to get into that in a second, too. I mean, you're talking about giving up of your time, but it takes matched energy and effort from the parents, too,
Correct.
and the student body. You got to feed off that energy, like you said.
Correct.
You don't want to play in front of an empty stadium, but especially when y'all play at Gloucester and at Woodside, you're getting home very late at night during a weeknight, too. You mentioned basketball. Is too much emphasis on football?
No, I think it goes hand in hand. I believe football, you have a bigger scale, so you have more opportunities for kids to have an opportunity to play. Basketball only got 12 jerseys, 15, and only 5 can play at one time. Football, you can put 11 people on offense, 11 people on defense, put another 11 on special teams. So it's so many other opportunities, for kids to play, and it works. It all works hands in hand. We always encourage our players, don't be one sport stars. Try your hand at everything. All our kids run track in the off season. They want to play football to get tougher. Had a couple kids. My senior this year played volleyball and was a all-district volleyball performer. So it works hands in hand.
Well, quick 20 seconds each. We're running out of time. Howard White Classic.
Howard White Classic, sponsored by Brand Jordan, is a classic to honor the most famous alumni that we had, Mr. Howard White.
And about your team, what do you expect going into next season?
Just for us to keep the tradition going, the home of everyday greatness. Tradition doesn't graduate. We want to continue to be at the top of the district, win the state, put kids in school.
Yeah, you help with work. Now you're doing a great job at Kickintan. You're a warrior, green and white, right?
Green and white.
That's it. Green and white. Of course, you got the Howard White Hoops Classic.
That's it.
Yeah, always in the fourth quarter of the year. All right, that is Willie Goss. He's the head boys basketball coach at Kickintan High School, but he does a lot more with his time and his effort with the Newport News school system and security as well. That's our March show. Hope you enjoyed it. Right there, Bobby Woolham and also Willie Goss, Ray Price and his great crew. I'm Greg Pickaveras. Happy spring, and we'll talk to you soon.